Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the Advancement Center. And because we are all here together, welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Yeah. This is the world where there are no boundaries. Nothing can stop us. And what's a boundary? But something that indicates or fixes a limit or extent. And there are no limits. And that's what's so special about being with you and have no limits. Can you reimagine with me right now that we are back in your elementary school? Those first few days when there are other boys and girls and that tall person telling you all what to do and calling them rules. Now remember, you're little. You're back when you were little and new and open to everything, including magic. Well, this was the beginning of your formal education. Yeah. Did you know that there are two definitions for the word education or educate? Two different Latin roots, which I think creates a bit of havoc. One is educare, to train or mold, and the other is to lead out. This is very important because there should be a balance between the two. But so often it becomes the extension of the limits of the budget, the teacher, and the world at the moment. This is all happening while you are young, fresh, open, and ready to live your life. Well, today we can all return to that wondrous new beginning when we are I have something written in my crazy handwriting. Oh, that's right. We've just returned to that beginning all over again when we observed how everyone was so happy when we learned how to talk and walk and then told us to sit still and be quiet and obey the rules. What was this all about? This is not what we expected. We expected the joy of being with other little kids. No, this is mm-mm. So now is our opportunity. Close your eyes and open them, knowing that you are hearing truth at last. And oh my, this is my pleasure in sharing this with you right now. There is always another way, but there is no need to look for it. Expect it to be available, and it will appear at exactly the right time. Know that you are more than you can imagine and more than you can calculate, and the complete picture will be available for you to manage through the many channels that connect with the unknown. There is always a place of perfection within your field that will attract you and lead you before you know what is happening. That is our sign of magic and miracles. And this is how we are. We shine with a light that is different to the sun, but it is just as effective and just as powerful when you reside in the expansive field that we know as the universe. We are on the path of magic and miracles, and the concept of difficulties is no longer valid in our world. The bridge between what we have been taught and trained to handle and the absolute magic of the miracles we are able to expect has now been completed. What is sometimes classed as a difficulty is actually the framework for the demonstration of magic and miracles in our physical world. If we see things differently, we can see the opportunity for miracles rather than the experience of some difficult circumstance. To achieve something by the use of magic and miracles, it is necessary for you to exist in the elevated world where magic and miracles is normal. This is the world we came from, and we have never lost our ties to our origin. If you relax your hold on the world that you know, you will be catapulted into the special place where everything is perfect. This happens in childbirth and in many devastating circumstances that happen in life. To the outside world, things look terrible, but to you, there is a special silence where you are totally secure and unaware of worldly circumstances. It is easier, however, to simply step into the world of your Creator and immediately experience the world of magic and miracles, where all things are possible, even the restructure of your physical world. The new world that comes from everything magical is simply beyond all the limited fields of the world at the present time. These limited fields are tied to the past by false assumptions and accreditations that hold no true value. the result of a series of examinations after intense schooling, has no real bearing on a life that holds many millions of unique experiences that depend on the person being able to work outside the limits of training. We have been convinced that a piece of paper at the end of our schooling should determine our wealth and well-being for the remainder of our life. This has been proven true for those who are locked in as part of the workforce. But it is not true in real life and will be proven over and over again as the effect of magic and miracles continues to show its power in a real and positive way. The industry of magic and miracles is capable of employing everyone and providing wealth and well-being beyond anything that has ever been considered. Those powerful words were given by Robert Young many, many years ago. Look around you. What do you see? How do you feel right now? What touches you deeply? A story? Happening? Just recently, a friend posted this story and it touched me. It touched my heart. I share this with you. I'll share it with you now because it is the basic tenet of my life. The title is Kindness. Nothing fancy, nothing to reach or stretch for, just simple kindness. And this is what I read. Dr. Frank Mayfield was touring Tewksbury Institute when, on his way out, he accidentally collided with an elderly floor maid. To cover the awkward moment, Dr. Mayfield started asking questions. How long have you worked here? I've worked here almost since the day the place opened, the maid replied. What can you tell me about the history of this place? He said. I don't think I can tell you anything, but I could show you something. With that, she took his hand and led him down to the basement under the oldest section of the building. She pointed to one that looked like a small prison cell. Their iron bars rusted with age, and said, "That's the cage where they used to keep Annie Sullivan." "Who's Annie?" the doctor asked. "Annie was a young girl who was brought in here because she was incorrigible. Nobody could do anything with her. She'd bite and scream and throw her food at people. The doctors and nurses couldn't even examine her or anything. I'd see them trying with her, spitting and scratching at them. I was only a few years younger than her myself, and I used to think, I sure would hate to be locked up in a cage like that. I wanted to help her, but I didn't have any idea what I could do. I mean, if the doctors and nurses couldn't help her, what could someone like me do? I didn't know what else to do, and I just baked her some brownies one night after work. The next day, I brought them in. I walked carefully to her cage and said, "Annie, I baked these brownies just for you. I'll put them right here on the floor, and you can come and get them if you want." Then I got out of there just as fast as I could because I was afraid she might throw them at me. But she didn't. She actually took the brownies and ate them. After that, she was just a little bit nicer to me when I was around. And sometimes I talked to her. Once I even got her laughing. One of the nurses noticed this and she told the doctor. They asked me if I'd help them with Annie. I said I would if I could. So that's how it came about that every time they wanted to see Annie or examine her, I went into the cage first and exclaimed and explained and calmed her down and held her hand. After they'd been working with her for about a year, and it was tough sledding with Annie, the Perkins Institute for the Blind opened its doors. They were able to help her, and she went on to study, and she became a teacher herself. Annie came back to the Tewksbury Institute to visit and to see what she could do to help out. At first, the director didn't say anything. And then he thought about a letter he'd just received. A man had written to him about his daughter. She was absolutely unruly, almost like an animal. She was blind and deaf, as well as deranged. He was at his wits' end, but he didn't want to put her in an asylum. So he wrote the Institute to ask if they knew of anyone who would come to his house and work with his daughter. You know where I'm going. And that is how Annie Sullivan became the lifelong companion of Helen Keller. When Helen Keller received the Nobel Prize, she was asked who had the greatest impact on her life. And she said, Annie Sullivan. But Annie said, no, Helen. The woman who had the greatest influence on both our lives was a floor maid at the Tewksbury. The title of that is Kindness. The greatest influence on the world is to teach kindness first at every level of education. A wonderful story. It was wonderful sharing it with you. The magic that you feel around you right now will soon be standing tall in front of you in a form that will amaze you and everyone. There are no words to describe the beauty of what is happening, and there will be no words when the results start to flow into your life. What is the most elite and peaceful feeling ever known to mankind is on its way to you in a package that will burst forth when least expected. There will be celebration upon celebration, and the focus of the world will change completely. No matter what you decide to do, you will always point in the correct direction and achieve more than you can ever imagine. The strings of doubt have been broken, and you are ready to accept the miracles that have been made ready for your entry into a whole new chapter of life. As you consider the movement around you, there is a specific but subtle lead from your spirit, and that will bring you to the next moment with a sense of intrigue and excitement. This instantaneous movement will often take you to a totally different activity than is presented by your logic and will determine a path that cannot be seen as a logical path to the next event. It is at this moment where you sense the magic and know that you are walking headlong into a miracle that will change the face of everything you see in your logical mind. Every moment is precious and cannot be neglected for any reason. The events and activities that keep you occupied are secondary to the brilliant task of following your spirit. As you entertain your spirit, it will respond with the greatest magic and sparkles, which will lift you above all things and make you almost jump out of your skin with unlimited joy. The further you go, the simpler it becomes. And all the elements that are required for this process have been with you from the beginning. Our natural communication systems have been taken out of our hands. But in the world of magic and miracles, they are completely ours to use in whichever way we feel appropriate. The barrier that we have been educated to believe exists between us all only exists while we continue to rebuild it every day. There is no need to do anything except see that what comes into your field is not for you to respond to. What is in your field as a function of your reality needs no response, clarification, or objection, because it is in perfect harmony with your future. All other influences can be discarded and totally forgotten in every moment. The next step, the next feeling, and the next event is yours to discover by actually moving in the direction that you are led. All other things can be forgotten until they appear as part of the discovered event that is delivered from that special place you know as your origin. I just looked at the clock, and with your permission, I will continue reading The Magic of Life, Volume 3, on my next broadcast. I've so loved being with you today, being like little children in school all over again, and being with you as we all hear the truth, which has certainly set us free. A wonder to be with you, and a thrill to share the magic that happened Thursday night in my art class. So here it is. I love doing this, but I have to be honest with you, it was tricky. So there you have it. And it's just a form of expression that supersedes words. You do it with color, movement, rhythm. And what happens is magic. So with all the magic and all the miracles available to us all. I wish you a perfect life, perfect health, and a truly magical future. Thank you for joining me. I am Barbara.